We're thundering towards the first MotoAmerica AMA/FIM North American Road Race Championship round of the year. It's Mission King of the Baggers here at Daytona 200 weekend from Daytona International Speedway, and the high banks await us here in Daytona Beach, Florida. Hello everyone and welcome to the show. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Jason, this is it, our first round for 18 for Mission King of the Baggers, and we're doing it right here in Daytona.
Yeah, it's been a long off season, but these teams, Greg, they've been working all winter long trying to get these bikes better. We've got some new people that are going to be involved in the classes you'll see soon, but let's take a look at last year's highlights.
Yeah, so in Daytona here we had two races. Jason, kick us off with race one.
Well, all weekend long it looked like it was going to be the 33 of Kyle Wyman that was just going to run away with both these races. That would not be the case, however, as you see the two Vance and Hines bikes of James Rispoli and Hayden Gillum. Rispoli would go on and win the very first race of the season last year after being qualified in 5th or so, so that was good for them. But in the second race, Kyle Wyman did exactly what we thought he would do, dominate a race. He got away from some of the mechanical gremlins of the first race, goes on and wins race 2.
And for that privateer Vance and Hines team, on the back of James Rispoli, they led the championship leaving Daytona International Speedway, but ultimately it was one of their riders who won the championship, and that rider is with the third member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa.
For Hayden Gillum last season, he was the one hunting down that #1 plate, looking to bring it back to his team, and he did just that. This season, he's got the #1 plate and perhaps a target on his back. Hayden, do you feel kind of an added sense of pressure running that #1, defending your championship?
I mean, there's always a little extra pressure having the #1 plate, but I'm going into it this year like I did last year. Last year I came in 0 expectations, just wanted to get here, get as much seat time as I could on the bike, learn some stuff, and get out of here good.
Well, best of luck, and all eyes will certainly be on the #1 of the Vance and Hines bike this season.
All right, but this is what we're here for, Jason. Daytona International Speedway, 3.56 miles in this configuration, and the high banks.
Yep, the iconic speedway, Greg, that's going to show us who's got the horsepower this year as we start 224 off. You're going to see it's a short run from pit lane down into turn 1. Then you're going to go down to the International Horseshoe. Expect some out-braking moves there. The fast kink in the infield before we head back up onto that banking. And you see, Greg, they roll all the way around, down into the chicane, out of the chicane. You want to decide your strategy early to decide whether you want to lead out of there on the last lap or run the risk of getting drafted at the line.
Is it going to be another barn burner, another 86,000 second victory, or is this guy going to run away with it? We have 18 Mission King of the Bagger races this year, and this is our first race. Who sets the tone?
Mission King of the Baggers coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. And by Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson and custom V-twin motorcycles.
Well, that was Main Street. Now we're here at Daytona International Speedway, getting ready for the start of this Mission King of the Baggers, race number 1 of our round number 1. Let's take a look at the starting grid to see how they qualified. And as we break this thing up into our rows of 3, it's 3-time Australian Superbike champ Troy Herfoss who leads the way over Kyle Wyman and Tyler O'Hara.
And then James Rispoli, Hayden Gillum, and Kyle Onsord are going to be there on row 2 with Wyman, Landers, Jake Lewis. Landers new to the series, obviously. Bobby Fong, Corey West, and Shane Narbonne. Good to see Shane here. Back a little bit further, Greg, row 5, Max Flinders, Jason Janich, Zach Schumacher, Gunnar Roulette, and Ruben Chouse. Yes, Ruben Chouse, Superbike, World Superbike winner.
Motorcycles forming up the grid as this 6-lap event for Mission King of the Baggers of our first one. And a look at your number 1 plate. That, of course, is the Revzilla Motul Vanson Hines Harley Davidson of Hayden Gillum.
You know, Greg, the thing is, this weekend so far, we've seen some issues with all the bikes, really. I mean, it's 6 laps. It's 6 hard laps on these 600-pound-plus motorcycles that are ripping around the high banks of Daytona.
Here we go. Revs are up, lights off, and we are away racing Mission King of the Baggers. The first one of the 2024 season. It looks like the 17 of Herfoss might have had a bit underneath to lead us into turn number 1. And there he goes.
Yeah, Troy Herfoss leading the way over his teammate, Tyler O'Hara. Then you got the 2 factory Harleys. Kyle Wyman gets bucked up out of the seat. And then James Rispoli, and you can see Gillum coming down the inside.
Oh,
he's going to run
deep.
wide. Yeah, he was way deep there. He goes past both the factory Harleys, though. It was almost like Kyle sensed that something was going to happen underneath him, and he left Hayden Gillum a little bit of room.
But then for Kyle Wyman, the 33, able to cross it back up and get position. All the while, the Australian leading the way. But Jay, we still have a ton of banking to go to see how these Mission King of the Baggers sort themselves out after an off-season of development.
And you can see how hard Gillum's pushing. He sees those 2 Indians just trying to get away, but he's in a good spot. He's right behind Kyle Wyman, and Kyle should be able to pull him along as they exit turn 5 up onto the bank in the first time. You see Rispoli already laying a big black liner Dunlop rubber on the track there as the field continues to sort itself through onto this banking.
And Rispoli talking about how he likes the rear tire to spin so he can control it. And here's a pass for the lead. It's Tyler O'Hara who goes around, so teammates getting after it. All the while, double draft. Kyle Wyman's able to close up going into the chicane.
Rispoli had made the pass on Gillum, and Gillum didn't want to give it up. Goes back past James. James is getting thrown around that seat a lot on this opening lap. As you can see, he's going to be the 5th bike, Greg, so he's in a great spot here as Kyle Wyman pulls out of the draft of Tyler O'Hara. You see those 2 running side by side there in 2nd place. Coming off that bank and towards the trioval, Kyle will do his best to get in behind Troy Herfoss, as Troy Herfoss is going to lead his first lap of bagger action here at Daytona.
Kyle Wyman, the 33, on that factory Harley-Davidson Road Glide, using the legs of that Wisconsin iron to close right up on the back of our leader. The 29 of Tyler O'Hara with tons of experience here.
Oh, look at that bike just getting thrown around as you see. Herfoss now makes the pass on Kyle Wyman. So both times, again, this good racecraft, I think. Kyle can hear it or see it or feel it. Whatever it is, he's not turning that big Harley in because he knows somebody's coming through, and that's all right this early in the race with that kind of stuff happen. As you can see, Hayden Gillum now trying to go down the outside of Kyle Wyman, and he's able to make that pass move. So the number 1 on that Vanson Hines Harley Davidson doing work in the infield.
For Hayden Gillum, he is aggressive on the brakes and seems to have a little bit more roll speed going into the corner than some of the other competitors, almost colliding with Kyle Wyman a couple of corners ago.
And look just back behind these guys. There's another one trying to join the party. That's Bobby Fong, Greg, on that Indian. And we've also seen Bobby win races, so he didn't get off to the start he likes. He's gotten the fastest first split on this lap, 57.9 to the leaders, low 58 seconds. So Bobby Fong on that 50 is on his way to forward.
Factory horsepower over privateer horsepower, and Wyman gets position as we check in with Hannah for the first time during the race.
Hey Greg, let's talk about tires quickly. You mentioned this race is only 6 laps long. It was shortened from 2 under the advisement of Dunlop and MotoAmerica Race Control obliged. The reason being they were monitoring tire temperatures all weekend long, and while they have not reached overheating temperatures, the temperatures were quite high and a bit of a cause for concern, so they decided to shorten that race just to 6 laps.
Yeah, that's a good precaution. I mean, you're talking about baggers that are going 183 miles an hour, 185 and a half in some cases on a 620-pound motorcycle. That's definitely going to beat these things up.
Yeah, and you look at what's going on here. There's a lot of battling between the first 4. Rispoli sitting there in 5th, just kind of watching it. And yeah, you can see a lot of action going on here. Kyle Wyman, he closes the door this time. He went into the horseshoe nice and tight. Gillum running 2nd, and you can see what's happening. When these 5 guys all get organized at the front, they pull away from Bobby Fong. At the moment, James Rispoli there in 5th has the fastest lap of the race at 1:50.8. Just behind Bobby Fong is new Vance & Hines rider Rocco Landers.
Hey, betting is now available for MotoAmerica fans. Go to mxbets.com/play MotoAmerica. For more information, visit MotoAmerica.com. Mission King of the Baggers. 3.5 laps to go. Rispoli.
Man, his bike just looks so out of shape as he's trying to get on the gas.
You're talking about Rispoli, the 43?
Yeah.
He had the fastest lap of the race at a 50.82, but he's got to turn it into something as Herfoss.
I mean, you think about how much Troy Herfoss has had to get used to this weekend. He's just come back from winning his 3rd Australian Superbike Championship on a Honda. All of his championships over there, I believe, Greg, have been won on a Honda. He gets signed over here to ride for Indian, and now he's leading this bagger race at a track he's never seen, and obviously he's heard about a lot. And he's out front, and he's leading 2 Harley Davidsons with his teammate in 4th. Rispoli should be able to pick back up, and look at the difference here. Hayden Gillum just getting pulled away from ever so slightly on that banking.
Pass for the lead. For the moment, it was the 33 who went to the lead, but as they come to the stripe, is it going to be the Indian Challenger or the Road Glide taking the lead? So it's going to be Kyle Wyman who's credited across the line, but Herfoss late on the brakes into turn number 1. He'll get it back.
Yeah, and the hard part right now is for our defending champion, but let's not forget, Vance & Hines last year rolled out of here with a points lead because their bikes continued to go around the racetrack. Gillum's going to do everything he can to win this race, but the power deficiency just looks ever so slight on that banking. And you can see these guys are all spinning these bikes up a lot as they come out of these corners right now.
Leading the way is Troy Herfoss. Hannah?
He is, and Greg, as Jason mentioned a little bit earlier, everything is new. There's a lot of things for Troy as far as the learning curve goes, but something that hasn't changed, he brought a member of his crew from his previous team to crew chief for him this season, and they've settled really nicely into that Indian factory team. Talking to him about the bagger, he said he was so surprised by how well it handles, but he also gives a lot of credit to these riders out here for how challenging that it has been for him as well.
Yeah, going from a superbike to a 620-pound bagger, no matter how good they handle, it can't be easy.
Yeah, but Greg, over all the years you've been in the paddocks, you've seen relationships form between riders and crew chiefs, and having somebody there in your corner that you can at least talk to and understands what it is that you mean when you're talking about whatever setup changes you might need is a big deal. As you can see, a black flag is being waved there. I don't know if it's for any of our 5, but you definitely saw a black flag being waved as they entered the chicane. These 2 guys right now, if they work together, they're doing their best to try to separate themselves. Kyle Wyman with a tremendous run out of that chicane as you see the other 3 bikes just tailing off behind. Kyle Wyman with the fastest 2nd split of the race.
And this is going to be really important for the 17 of Herfoss to start understanding how far back he can be in order to still catch the draft. And so here comes Herfoss, right part of your screen. He was a good 10 bike lengths back, and he's able to pull up alongside Kyle Wyman. And he goes fastest lap of the race at a 150.671 for the 17.
Oh, Gillum's going straight.
Oh, so the number 1 plate is going to be relegated back to at least 5th place.
He stayed there, Greg. That's where he was when he came across the line. And that's going to take him out of this lead draft altogether. Herfoss into the horseshoe just a little bit deep. He's going to get it turned. You see he's a little bit wider out there than is Kyle Wyman as he has a look over his shoulder.
Yeah, that also told him how much of a lead he had.
Correct. Making
that mistake as well. So that's going to be a test for him on the S&S Indian motorcycle. That's the Indian Challenger as the Mission King of the Baggers rookie, we're going to call him.
Yeah,
he's not a rookie on a racetrack, but he's definitely a rookie in the class and here in MotoAmerica. And he's racing a couple of classes, so this isn't the only class for Herfoss, the Australian. that he's had experience in. He is racing the Mission Hooligans class as well, and he's got a lot of experience on the racetrack, but it has been over the last 2 days with his eyes wide open. He comes to the United States, Herfoss looking to win with only a lap and a half to go in Mission King of the Baggers race number 1 here in 2024.
Yeah, and he was racing just 2 weeks ago in Australian Superbike for a different team during the World Superbike weekend, Greg, and he had a few podiums there. They had 3 races. I believe Troy was on the podium for all of those with a new manufacturer for him. And so for him right now, look at these 2 guys. They're still digging, trying to get up with those lead guys. Now this time, both Herfoss and Rispoli go through the chicane better. They should get a sniff of this draft, and we are going to see the white flag at the stripe this time by as Kyle Wyman takes that low line. Not going to be able to do it, but look at here. O'Hara's going to get a double bike draft as they come to the line.
O'Hara with the test to see what he needs to do on the last lap. Will he actually roll off the throttle a little bit? White flag flies. O'Hara now with the fastest lap of the race, a 150.519, so just another 10th quicker than Herfoss went just a couple of laps ago. So all 4 of us are bunched up. Does Rispoli have a shot at it on his factory Harley Davidson?
These 2 guys at the front definitely are a little bit better in the infield. You can see how much harder as he makes a small mistake there. Does Herfoss makes a mistake? I've seen him do that 2 laps in a row where he's just running it off there into that International Horseshoe a little bit fast. Can't get that big Indian slowed down. That's a lot of weight to get slowed. Right now, Rispoli, if he thinks that O'Hara is going to be able to pull him along that banking, he's in a great spot on that 43 to be able to try to use a 3-rider draft to the line.
As long as he's got the gearing on the motorcycle and the tire to pull it off. We're talking about the 43 Rispoli, who's currently in 4th place.
This is a good tight shot. Watch how loose this bike's getting as we see a rider go down.
Is that Herfoss?
I can't tell if it's Herfoss or O'Hara right now, but it looks like they rode it. The leaders are out on the banking now.
It's O'Hara.
It's
O'Hara who's down. So here we go. This is the run on the final lap of Mission King of the Baggers. We are going to, as Rispoli is in a good spot as we send it off into the chicane. The final run out of the chicane. How important is this? The 29 on the left part of your screen, out of contention for a podium.
Look at
Wyman. And he gets a good drive.
Herfoss checked them both up. That's what he did. This is going to play right into the 43's hands if he thinks he can do it. Herfoss had that move pulled on him earlier in the challenge race, and he did the same thing, hoping that he's going to be able to draft. Let's see if Rispoli double drafts them both.
Factory Harley Davidson versus Factory. To the line we go. It's the 33 leading. Here comes Herfoss. He's got a great drive. He's trying around the outside, but it's going to be Kyle Wyman who holds him off by 18 thousandths of a second, with Rispoli just a 10th of a second behind. And the Indian motorcycle of Troy Herfoss will be the meat of the sandwich of the Harley Davidsons, Kyle Wyman and James Rispoli. And we didn't get to talk about him, but Hayden Gillum, the #1 plate in 4th, and Rocco Landers in his debut ends up with a solid 5th place finish.
Really good for Rocco. Only 5.9 seconds off the win, 5.1 behind the battle for that podium.
Wow, how well played for Kyle Wyman.
Really well played, but Greg, Herfoss played a little bit of a game coming out of the chicane, checking up the way he did, and he just didn't have the bike underneath him to quite get him to the line. Now keep in mind, this is his 2nd chance at that, so he's going to have a lot more chances over the course of the weekend.
And the difference was when they crossed the line, Herfoss was going 185.5 miles an hour, Wyman 179 miles an hour. So that 6.5 mile an hour difference just wasn't enough by 18 thousandths of a second. And Kyle Wyman, a big dub. Last time he was here, he won in Daytona at the end of the 2nd race at the beginning of the season for 2023, and he gets it done again. And when we come back, we'll talk to Kyle and find out exactly how he was able to hold off everybody and win this race.
On air, on air. Check 1, 2, on air.
Mission King of the Baggers coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. And by Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson and custom V-twin motorcycles.
The thundering roar of V-twin horsepower rolled into victory lane here in Daytona International Speedway, and it was spectacular. Here's a look at the results. In case you just tuned in and missed it, it's Kyle Wyman who takes victory 0.018 of a second over Troy Herfoss. James Rispoli right there in the mix. Hayden Gillum had a good run at it, just couldn't quite get that wrap at the end. Tip of the cap to Rocco Landers, who had a bit of a lonely race on his own. Owen Sorek Fong, Travis Wyman, and Max Flinders. By the way, Tyler O'Hara picked up the bike and was able to finish in 10th place. And Jay, as we look forward to that, that's always any points you have, especially now that we have 18 races in the Mission King of the Baggers series. Any points that you can gather are going to be important. So for Tyler O'Hara to pick up the bike, that's 6 for him.
Yeah, that's exactly what he needed to do, is get those points. And really good for Rocco Landers there, finishing 5th place in his first bagger. It's a completely different type of machine for him. And I even think for Hayden Gillum, the couple of mistakes that he made, he's walking out of here with some points. Not going to be happy with 4th at all. But you know, he'll be going to other tracks this year. I think we're going to have 3, 4, maybe 5 different winners in this class.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think too that if you look at the overall picture, you take a helicopter view of what
you're
just
going to
happened
have
in Mission King of the Baggers. I think that you have to say to yourself that these bikes are pretty evenly matched. Let's get right down to Hannah in victory lane.
Today's race winner, and it was certainly a heck of a race out there, but I want to talk about that pass you made on that very last lap, a tight one. Take us through it.
Oh man, I mean, we were absolutely parked on that last lap. We were riding around so slow, but I refused to lead that race until the moment it counted. And man, Troy absolutely just, you know, he played the cards he had to, being in the lead like that, and absolutely stopped the thing in the chicane. And I thought I was going to have to take another downshift, but I saw a window and maybe a little bit of dirt, and drove my big bagger through it, and man, we were able to hold him off for a win. And this is such a huge deal for Harley, and I can't tell you what we've been through this weekend getting to this point, so to come away with a win is just unbelievable. So thanks to the whole team.
Congratulations to Kyle Wyman, your Mission King of the Baggers, first race winner this season. I want to talk to our 2nd place finisher, Troy Herfoss, making his MotoAmerica debut. And for your first ever Mission King of the Baggers race, your first ever time here at Daytona, a 2nd place finish. Are you happy with that after leading as many laps as you led?
I thought, I've been studying that last lap so much. I got a message from Peter Doyle, who this paddock knows well, Matt's crew chief back in the day, and Matt actually sent me a message about a trick he played a few years back, and I thought I'd try it. And they didn't want to pass me there, but they had to. And Kyle just, he come down the inside line, and it was too far around the outside, and it was close. We almost got there, but hey, I think this is a 20 race long series, and we're starting off with the 2nd place at Daytona. And the big picture is we're here to win a championship, and so far so good.
Congratulations on 2nd place today from Troy Herfoss. Let's check in with your 3rd place finisher today, James Rispoli. Your very first race on the factory Harley-Davidson. Are you happy with this 3rd place finish?
Of course I'm happy. We got Harley-Davidson 1-3. That was a mental race, you know. The 4 of us seemed to break away after Hayden mid-race. I don't know what happened with him, but dude, the last lap, Tyler crashed, and these guys were kind of messing around. Herfoss was like, hey, I didn't want to lead. I didn't know what he wanted to do. And, man, they parked it in the bus stop pretty good. And I was like, man, I'm going to win this thing. And it was just too slow. Couldn't get it done, but I'm so happy. First time on the factory Harley-Davidson. These guys have worked their asses off all weekend. And I'm just stoked that we're going 1-3, baby. Let's go.
James Rispoli rounding out your Mission King of the Baggers podium, guys.
Here's a look at the championship. This is how they pay out points in MotoAmerica. 25 for a win, 20 for 2nd, 16 for 3rd. So after our first race, this is where it lands. And Kyle Wyman, off of his 13th career Mission King of the Baggers win, leads this championship. Wow, Daytona International Speedway. How do you like Mission King of the Baggers? What incredible racing. Race 1 highlights from Mission King of the Baggers, Jason Pridmore. It was a close one.
Yeah, here you go. Troy Herfoss led off into turn 1. You see his teammate right behind him, and watch this little move. Hayden Gillum is going to go by both factory Harley-Davidsons. He almost clipped the back of Rispoli's bag, and then he gets it up underneath Kyle Wyman. And then it was those 5 that would break away from everybody. As you can see, Kyle Wyman originally ran them down. Herfoss took a shot at Wyman as they went into that international horseshoe as well. Rispoli hanging back there in 5th, watching, and there's Bobby Fong going straight off in the back of your picture, and there's Hayden Gillum doing that with about 2 laps to go. Haywood put on a big charge to get back where he was. You heard them say they were going slow through the chicane on the last lap. Kyle Wyman took a shot and is going to win by half a bike length.
Who says you can't split lanes on the 405 in California in rush hour with a bagger? That's exactly what happened. It was close, but that move secured Kyle Wyman his 13th. Hey, Mission King of the Baggers, this is what's coming up this season. We're going to Circuit of the Americas with MotoGP. We got Road Atlanta, Road America, Brainerd, Laguna Seca, Mid-Ohio. It is going to be 18 races of full year with Mission King of the Baggers. You don't want to miss it, especially the way this turns out. And hey, we got another one coming at you from Daytona International tomorrow. Well, make sure you join us for Mission King of the Baggers. Are we going to have another close one tomorrow? We can't wait to find out.